Hey guys, welcome back to Irish Footy Vlogs, First Division review show. Sean, you had the weekend off. You had more pressing matters, which will be discussed in the Premier Division and FA Cup show, so we won't discuss Waterford. Gavin, you were in Athlone, or you weren't physically in Athlone, but Cork were in Athlone. So I think that's where we'll start. Look, I think you mentioned that Colin Healy in his previous show with the Cork City, I think it's YouTube channel or whatever, that he mentioned that he gave the squad the week off, so there wouldn't have been much training going on. However, they did go 2-0 up against Athlone. I mean, form was going the way of Cork, but 2-1 at half time. Gary Armstrong got the first goal for Athlone after McGlade and Coffey put them Cork 2 up. Van Greenan then equalised, and Aaron Connolly got the winner for Athlone. A little bit of a surprise given that Cork were 2-0 up. Did you see any of the highlights of the game?
I did, Keith. I watched the highlights of the game, and I suppose without being negative, and I hate being negative, especially after winning the league. Look, I suppose they took the week off and they enjoyed their week, but in that sense, Keith, this is where I kind of go on about, where I think that it shows that they definitely need to strengthen for next season if they're going to the Premier. That, like, even to make the changes that they made, they should have been still good enough to win that game, I think. Now, to be fair, look, at Athlone, they're on form at the moment. So, like I always said, it's always great for their confidence. But, I think to concede the goals they conceded, now, to be fair, is Gary Armstrong's, isn't it? He got a great goal, now, in fairness to me. He struck the ball really well. Like, even the second goal that City conceded was quite poor from a set piece there, where the ball went into the far post and was played back across the goal. And the free kick, the third one, like, to be fair, was a lovely strike. But look, I didn't see the whole game, so I don't know how the game went in terms of possession and everything. But I suppose, look, no matter what, I think Colin's not stupid. He's an intelligent guy and a good manager, and he knows no matter what, even after losing the game at the weekend, he'll still look back at it and say, we kind of still need to be winning games, even with the changes that they made. And like they were saying, there were 6 changes, but like that's still no excuse. I mean, the lads that come in are lads that are training with, we say, the first 11 every week. So, they should be still up to the standard, and we shouldn't be conceding goals like that. I suppose the positive look was Dylan McGlade's goal. He took his goal very well. And he set up Barry Coffey there. He done very well for the second goal, if that was the positives out of the game. But as I said, I think for next season, City definitely need to improve their squad.
Sean, I suppose the only surprise, one of the surprises, was Alua and Lennon weren't on the score sheet for Athlone, and they scored 3. Look, it's their 4th win in 5 games, and Gavin said last week if they had that form earlier in the season, they might have been putting pressure on the playoff spots. But it's a good end to the season for Athlone, and it only bodes well for them going into next season.
Yeah, it does, and especially now, I mean, they have a chance to finish 7th. An outside chance, but it is still a chance. And as far as recent seasons go, that's about as gotten for Athlone. The only worry you'd have is keeping this squad together for next season. Names you've mentioned, Lennon and Alua, other clubs, even in the first division, are going to be looking at him, and it might be hard for Athlone to keep the squad together. That's the only concern, really. I'm happy for them. Obviously it hasn't been a great couple of years there, so nice to see him doing well, even if it is only sort of brief good form. But I just worry about them keeping the squad together for next season.
Yeah, fantastic. And they Athlone obviously play. I think it's Waterford next week, is it? Is that correct? Right, yeah. So they have a chance of overtaking Bray, but it's a very slim chance. Bray get out to Cork, and we'll discuss that later on in the week as well. Gavin, onto the team with your favourite player of all time, Wexford against Galway. Pretty dire 0-0 draw. It looked like a strong Galway team out, and we talk over and over again about momentum going into the playoffs, but John Caulfield will not be happy with the form they're in at the moment.
Yeah, I just managed to catch the Wexford had up 5 minutes highlights and managed to get the best parts of it, or what it was. Like, Conor McCormick was back in the side again, and he's going to be a huge asset to them anyway. But listening, the way the cameras are kind of, you can hear everything that's going on with the managers and stuff like that. What quite surprised me a lot when I was listening to it, Keith, is that, Wexford, we say, we're attacking with the ball, and John Caulfield was telling the players, stay in his right leg, watch his left leg, or watch your shoulder. Like, it was like if he was trying to explain to them through the game what to do. Like, you shouldn't be telling fellas at that level what, they should know themselves what to do. But there was a couple of moments I was looking at and saying, wait, like, there was one time, I don't know, could have been Conor Davis cut in on his right foot, and they were saying, he was saying, keep him on his right, keep him on his right. I was saying to myself, like, these lads surely know what they're doing. Like, why should you be having to explain to your own players? I don't know. Like, I just found it a bit strange. I mean, they hit the bar. Jack Doherty was actually very unlucky with a free kick. Max Hemmings had a great one-on-one, and the Wexford keeper made a great save there. He was true one-on-one. But there didn't seem to be much in it. There had a couple of chances in each of it. But again, I suppose, look, unfortunately for Galway in that sense, in their own senses, that their season has fizzled out as such, I'd say, like that. It's just, I'd say, like, I don't know. I don't even know what to say about it, because it's such a surprise in that sense. Like, if you look at the team they have, but obviously, as I said, like, the drive or the determination seems to have fizzled out with them at this stage. Like,
Yeah, Sean, Wexford played Treaty in the last game, and it could have been one of those games where it was winner takes all. It didn't turn out that way. We've discussed this over and over again, and it's hard to discuss teams when they have nothing to play for. But like a 0-0 draw, and Wexford's season has just gone from here right down, hasn't it? In the last maybe 6-7 games of the season.
Yeah, it's very disappointing for them. I mean, they're definitely good enough to be in the playoffs, but just this is what happens. Been the story of the last couple of weeks for Wexford. I do think, though, they have a good chance of keeping the squad together. Looking at the squad and seeing what players get into the Waterford squad. Jack Doherty is really the only player I have much interest in, and if next season maybe the step up to Premier Division might be a bit too much. So I think, as bad, as disappointing as it will be for Wexford this season, they've got a good chance that if they have a serious shot at least the playoffs. But they need to start getting those results.
Yeah, Gavin. Sorry, just going back to Galway. Obviously, they've been struggling the last couple of weeks, but ultimately, John Caulfield won't care. I mean, if he gets them into a final of a playoff, the league results in the last couple of weeks are relevant, aren't they?
I don't know, Keith. I'd say, like, he's not going to come out and say it publicly, but I'd say behind the scenes, I'd say he's quite pissed off with it. Really, like, he's that type of fella. Like, for their form to kind of dip that much, he must be concerned about it. No matter what, whether it's a case that he stays with God or whether he leaves, but while he's in the job there, he'll want to do as best as he can for his own sake anyway. But like, he'll be very disappointed even if they, get to the playoff final. But he'll be concerned in that sense, Keith, that their form has dipped so much, especially as you say, lads, especially with the investment that they've made. And I suppose their expectation was probably to win the league, I suppose, in that sense, So I'd say, like, no matter what, and he's that type of fella like that, he's the type of fella like that, as we've said before about him, like, he's more about a fella wanting to go through a wall for you rather than a fella to beat 6 players and hit into the top corner. He's about, that you'll put in 110% for a whole game. Like, he's the type of, we say, a Conor McCormick type of manager. Like, if he'd 11 Conor McCormicks, he'd be delighted with himself. So he'll be disappointed, like, behind the scenes, and I'd say very annoyed and say quite worried the way things have panned out from the way it's finished. But as you said, then if they get to the playoff final, look, maybe that's all that he'll be worried about.
Sean, yeah, just as a Waterford fan going into the playoffs, and would you be worried that Galway might be giving other teams a false sense of security with the results that they've had in the last? And would you be worried as a Waterford fan if you ended up playing Galway in a first division final, that they may threaten Waterford for ultimately the playoff against the Premier Division team?
Because of the way they play, yes. I mean, we've struggled all season long against teams that defend, and that's really the only facet in which Galway threaten. I don't think it's a false sense of security because they had a serious shot at winning the league, and they've really made a mess of it. I would seriously favour Longford in the tie between the two. That's what it looks like it's going to be now. But you treat them with respect, and I don't think we're capable of hammering them either. But I don't think they are as threatening as the other teams in the playoffs that we could potentially face.
Interesting. The last game of the weekend was my club Bray against Cobh Ramblers in the Carlisle grounds, and I think when we were doing the preview, I said that my heart said that would be a Bray win. My head was saying something different. This game turned out to be, it's probably the worst result I've seen from a Bray Wanderers team over my 20 odd years. Unfortunately, I was only at the match for 30 minutes. Bray took the lead, Ben Feeney with a fantastic goal, but Cobh replied with 5 goals, and you heard me right, 5 goals. Cobh came away with a 5-1 win here. Luke Desmond, 2 goals. John McGrath, Kerrick, and Whitmarsh O'Brien Whitmarsh, as you know well, Gavin. I actually don't know what to say. There was a bit of after the game, Eddie Gormley was approached by a couple of fans on the sideline, and the fans were giving it loads to Eddie Gormley, who was obviously wasn't happy with that, and he gave a bit back, and he apparently had to be held back by stewards, and so you can see the toxic nature that has gone through Bray this season. Ever since day one when Cork City beat us 6-0 in the Carlisle. It's been a really, really disappointing season for Bray, and I really don't know where we go from here, and I'd like to get both your perspectives on this. Sean, I'll start with you. Obviously Bray were tipped by a couple of pundits at the start of the season to at least get a playoff spot, but look, they've finished third last, probably will finish third last given the two Athlone and Bray's games at the end of the season, but that's a very, very, very disappointing season given what they did last year, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, disappointing, only barely describes it, I think. There was already rumblings that this wasn't going to work out when the merger announced. It was just a very bizarre thing. I've never seen anything like it before anyway. And, the first warning signs really came in when the majority of the Bray squad last season that made it to the playoff final were shipped out, and Cavatini's squad that finished second from bottom last season was brought in. I mean, I couldn't, nobody was going to defend that. And things only got worse as the season went on. And I mean, I can't understand from the perspective of Pat Devlin, who was a club legend at Bray, that, fair enough, he wanted to manage the team in the first place. He probably has an affinity for the club, but when things weren't going well, you step away, you admit when you're beaten. And that hasn't happened. I mean, there was already this incident with Eddie Gormley and full time. There was already another incident earlier in the year where Pat Devlin went over the fans away game at Wexford and had to be held back by stewards and carried away. This really, I mean, we know at Waterford, what nepotism of one fella or a clique of fellas can do in terms of hampering progress, and that was just one element of a club. These guys are in control of Bray Wanderers effectively. As far as I'm concerned and where Bray go in the future, there's really only one answer, and that's expand the merger. That's the only way it'll happen, but I don't know how you do that.
Gavin, 30 goals scored by Bray, the worst in the league. 60 goals conceded, which I think is the third worst in the league. But I think things on the pitch have been overshadowed with stuff off the pitch. Would you agree there?
Yeah, definitely, Keith. And I suppose, like, even as you said, Aaron, it's not me having a go at you or Bray or anything, but when like the first game of the season against Cork City, if you're losing, it doesn't matter whether Cork City are favourites or bottom of the league and you're losing your first game 6-0. Like when you're prepared for the season, the first game, you shouldn't be conceding 6 goals at home in your first game, no matter what. And that's not me giving, that's not me having to go off your end or having fun at it. But like as Sean alluded to there, like Pat Devlin, a legend at Bray, and when things aren't going your way, you do need to step away from it. It's as simple as that. There's no other way of putting it. And I mean, if you go back to, like, as Sean alluded to as well with Waterford, if you go back to Cork City that time when Cobh left and there was a change in management and board of directors, and there was a lot of to and fro for a while, and City were in a mess until it settled down again. And obviously, you can see the common sense part here was that when City's management settled down, board of directors and all that when it started to settle, the team started to settle. Like it's no coincidence. This is the truth of it. And that's the same thing isn't going to happen with Bray till they start making changes. And for the likes of Pat Devlin and Eddie Gormley, who as well, a great servant to League of Ireland, they're obviously the problem here. It's as simple as this. And they need to get away from the team. They need to start fresh faces, start new, and start new for next season. And because, like, obviously, it's having an effect on the players. There's no doubt about it. Like, I mean, I always say it, Keith and Sean, like, no matter what, I know the players are, like people, young kids and us as fans, we look up to these players and we love the fact that they play for a club and everything. But, like, it has to be affecting them. Like, their morale must be low and their confidence. And, like, they're going out onto the pitch, and some of them are probably there like, I don't even want to be here today, but I'm doing it because I love my club and I love Bray. Do you know what I mean? So, like, from that point of view, these higher up lads, they need to step away, leave somebody else who for the love of the club wants to take it over and wants to see change and wants to see the club doing well. Because as I've said this to you before, and I probably said it halfway through the season, Keith, like, Bray are a great club. They're a fantastic club, and that's the way they should be, and they should be brought back to that way.
I think, in fairness, Gavin, like, we've had our differences this season, myself and the management team, and I think, in fairness, they do want the best for Bray Wanderers, but as you said, it just hasn't worked. And in any other way of life, if something's not working, you try something new. And it's like Einstein once said, "What's the definition of a madman? You do the same thing over and over again, expect a different result." I lay no blame on the players this season. There seems to have been, throughout the season, from day one, there's players have left. There's been rumours of bust-ups in dressing rooms. There's been rumours of players leaving because they weren't happy, or players that didn't get a run because of certain issues and stuff like that. Sean, do you think that if they were to change the management team, would that have a positive effect on the club as a whole? And how or who do you think Bray could actually go for? Like, who's out there in the league that Bray could go for as a manager?
Well, I'm not sure how viable it is, but Keith Long is available, and Bray is not too far from Dublin, so if work was an issue, you wouldn't really have to travel a million miles to manage the team. I don't know, as I said, I don't know how viable that is, but I think it's something they should consider if they're serious about their ambitions of competing in the Premier Division. But yeah, a new management can really be a kickstart for this new club. But I think Tony Richardson as well, for all the talk he's promised about the club, really hasn't invested much at all in Bray, and it's very disappointing to see. They still do have some good players. I mean, I seriously believe right face in can get the club going again. They've got still some good players there, like Conor Clifford and Hugh Douglas, that I think you could seriously build a good first division team with them. So I do think the right faces could change.
Yeah, Gavin, just briefly on Cobh, good end to their season. It was the last game of the season. They are idle next week. look, a 5-1 win away to Bray is fantastic for any club, whether it be Cork City, Waterford, or Cobh even. Something small for Shane Keegan to build on for next season, isn't it?
Yeah, so look, he'd be delighted with that. That's, I mean, no matter what, win your last game of the season, you're obviously going away smiling. And I mean, you know, Keith, it doesn't matter what team you're playing against. You only go up against a team that's put in front of you. But to score 5 goals, doesn't matter what team it is, he'll come away happy with it. And I believe Shane's a big fan of Luke Desmond as well. So he'll be delighted from that point of view, because I believe he predicts big things of Luke. And you know, Luke's a nice player. He's a young fella, and he's a lot to develop. And you know, Shane will go away from it. And as I said, like, you know, he can build on that. As I said, look, they came home with a trophy of the Munster Senior Cup. He'd be happy with that, and to get to get 5 goals in the last game, and you know, hopefully, you know, that he can build on that for next season, and hopefully there'll be a bigger threat to the first division next year.
Cool, guys. That's the end of. We'll do a preview show later on the week, and we'll see us all then. I'd like to get a Galway fan perspective on things. Let us know what you think of your playoff hopes and how your season has gone the last couple of games. But enjoy the title lift on Friday, Gavin. Big crowd expected, yeah? Yeah,
they're like, I think they're talking about opening the gates at 6:15, I think, like, and there's a lot of advertising, all right. Like, it'll depend on the weather, Keith, you know what I mean? I mean, if we had the rain, we just, the dirt was nuts. So hopefully, if it's a dry night, hopefully they'll get a good crowd on. And you know, to be fair to the lads, they deserve a good send off, and I'm looking forward to it. And I just like to say as well, for the Ballon d'Or tonight, unfortunately, I voted for Jack Doherty to win it, but he was just beaten by 1 vote by Karim Benzema tonight. So yeah, Benzema just beat him by a vote, unfortunately. But Jack, you'll be back next year. Don't worry about it.
Sorry, Jack. Guys, cheers. Thanks a lot. Guys, hit the bell notification. Let us know in the comments what you thought of the weekend's games, and we'll see you during the week. Cheers, guys.